When the Founding Fathers declared the inalienable rights in the Declaration of Independence, it didn't only assume the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
It implied something more specific. It implied a view that it was the responsibility of any government to protect certain rights of their constituents, such as life and personal freedom. The document as a whole heavily appeals to natural law, the belief that all or certain groups of people are rightfully entitled to certain treatment. One of the most straightforward natural rights is the belief in the right to life, the belief that it is the job of a government to protect the physical health and safety of its people. Today, this promise depends on clean, safe water.
Water shapes our physical, mental, and emotional health. It forms communities and makes futures.
In 1972, the Clean Water Act was passed in order to protect life's most important resource.
Let's talk about what the Clean Water Act is. What is that?
Sure, well, thank you for having me. The Clean Water Act was passed by Congress in 1972, and it was essentially the first time that the federal government was taking a regulatory role in cleaning up the nation's waters.
This act was an essential first step in the protection of rivers and communities such as the Patapsco River in Ellicott City, Maryland.
The Patapsco River starts near Marysville, Maryland. It flows through Howard County and eventually reaches the Baltimore Harbor, which then flows into the Liberty Reservoir. The Liberty Reservoir supports diverse wildlife, boosts local economies, and flows into the Chesapeake Bay, the largest estuary in the United States. However, most notably is that about 2 million people in Maryland get drinking water from it. It is controlled by the Department of Public Works. They are in charge of regulating the reservoir and making sure it stays in good health. Despite the importance of reservoirs like these, across the United States, they still suffer damages. For example, in Flint, Michigan, drinking water turned out to contain lead.
Then we were working in the recovery mode. We were starting to get more and more reports of water lead levels. Finally, more people were getting tested, and lead levels of thousands of parts per billion, and there is no safe lead level at all.
Several factors have contributed to the decline of the reservoir. One of the biggest factors is ignorance, lack of resources, or even carelessness of people. Faced with few options for easily disposing garbage, communities along the Patapsco River resort to using the river itself as a dumping ground.
Trash. But I would say definitely a partial reason is which I didn't realize this until I actually had to do it, was even though you're a county resident, for some dumping, you have to pay to be able to dump it. So like go to the dump and actually put out whatever it is, large amount of items, electronics, things like that. You can't just be like, oh, I'm putting it at the dump, here you go. It costs money to do that. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck or how your life is, you don't have the money to pay for it. So you're going to find a place where it's off the beaten path, nobody knows about it, dump it there. Because you're thinking in your brain, well, I'm already putting it in a dump that's like a big ground area anyway. Why can't I just dump it here instead? So people in their lives dump it there.
But why does this happen?
This issue strays far beyond the negligence of regular people. Local governments fail to provide decent pickup schedules, state governments don't fund local governments enough money, and fail to educate the people on littering.
This creates a cycle of continuous contamination where littering becomes inevitable. Eventually, this pollution will affect every household across the Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware region.
This government-tolerated system effectively violates the Declaration of Independence and also the Clean Water Act, which is made to protect the Declaration of Independence.
Even at the federal level, there have been consistent efforts to narrow the scope and power of the Clean Water Act. Despite many years of mistreatment, the bay is still savable. Some restoration efforts have shown that when communities come together and governments act, waterways can recover. When water gets polluted, the outcome doesn't stay in the river. It extends to every household. Clean water is not optional. It is an inalienable right.